safest form of energy generation according to all the accepted worldwide energy fatality data. But there is one thing that nuclear is not safe for, and that is the fossil fuel industry. The fact of the matter is that the fossil fuel industry has a long history of funding the anti-nuclear movement, along with climate change deniers, to protect their bottom line. Solid science is in dire need of a champion. And that is what ecomodernism is all about. Ecomodernism is a new environmental paradigm which looks to reverse the fear of nuclear power and scientific progress in general. Ecology-based modernism is the most direct way to define it. Ecomodernism as a philosophy is described in the Ecomodernist manifesto. We believe humanity should not be rejecting technological progress, but rather separate our impacts from nature through the responsible use of technology and urbanization. Urbanization is an unstoppable worldwide trend and the best solution to many environmental problems. It offers sustainable development for the human population and is a historic antidote to both deforestation and species extinction as humans move away from using wildlife as their protein source. Vertical, urban, high-rise architecture minimizes the use of land, resources, and energy, enabling walkable cities that facilitates the more efficient use of mass public transit as well. It must be emphasized that our support for technological solutions is definitely not about defending industrial polluters, nor do we accept funding from corporations or industry. Nor does our defense of technology imply that we just need to sit back and let things take care of themselves. To the contrary, we believe that humanity is at a crossroads that severely threatens our future on this planet. We reject the idea of resource limits on many levels. The advance of science has a long history of getting around problems of resource scarcity and will continue to do so. Another reason is that Earth is just one of a multitude of worlds available to explore in our solar system and beyond. Comets and asteroids are untapped reservoirs for raw materials. If we could find a way to thrive in artificial ecosystems off-world, we could use what we learn to help sustain terrestrial ecosystems here on Earth. I hope by now you understand the worthiness of our cause. Ecomodernism is really only a philosophy at this time. I want to talk to you about the necessity of turning it into a movement, which will be part of the larger environmentalist movement. For it is only through our presence and participation that there can be any hope of moving environmentalism in the right direction. Our aim is not to divide the environmental movement, but rather to multiply its numbers with the incorporation of many scientific and educational communities that is working to both build chapters of eco-modernist societies and support our growth worldwide. We aspire to increase our numbers by bringing together the numerous supporters of climate action that have been alienated by mainstream environmentalism's wildly contradictory support for the shutting down of nuclear power plants in the midst of a climate emergency, and welcome them into our ranks. Thank you.
Hello and welcome to the program. This is the Ecomodernist channel live. I'm here with Gabe Ignetti. My name's Carl Pauls, and today is our casual Sunday. We don't have a guest, but we do have some articles, and I'm going to get to those as soon as I put them on my right video source. Okay, let's see if I get my screen so I can read it. The first one, and Gabe, how you doing? Are you you're
I'm good.
reconfiguring? Okay, great.
I'm just getting my charger.
Oh,
Seeing I
well,
need it.
you're
But go
bouncing
ahead.
around a little. Okay. Yeah. So today we're
Yeah,
covering
it's
some
casual
news.
Sunday.
Yep, very casual. So the first one, this is about the new DOE chair, Chris Wright. New DOE leader wants to unleash American energy dominance. Energy Secretary Chris Wright outlined his priorities and plans this week, including a focus on modernizing nuclear power and taking the politics out of energy discussions, especially as they relate to climate change. Wright was confirmed by the U.S. Senate on Monday, and the next day vowed to unleash American energy in accordance with President Trump's executive orders. In his first secretarial order on January 20, Trump issued a far reaching executive order titled Unleashing American Energy, in which he directs agencies to conduct an immediate review of all agency actions that potentially burden the development of domestic energy resources, including nuclear. To compete globally, we must expand energy production and reduce energy costs for American families and businesses. America must lead the world in innovation and technology breakthroughs, which includes accelerating the work of the DOE's national laboratories. We must also permit and build energy infrastructure and remove barriers to progress, including federal policies that make it too easy to stop projects, far too difficult to complete projects, Wright said in his order. Wright outlined a number of priority actions for the DOE. Here are the ones that most apply to nuclear energy: support American energy innovation, unleash commercial nuclear power in the U.S., strengthen grid reliability and security, streamline permitting, and eliminate undue burdens on American energy. Before taking office, Wright most recently was founder and chief executive of Liberty Energy, a Denver, Colorado-based company that specializes in fracking. He also sat on the board of directors for Oklo, a Silicon Valley-based developer of small modular reactors. Wright's controversial stance on climate change came up during his Senate hearing, and he included in his opening remarks a statement about climate change being real with a caveat. I've studied, spoken, written on it for 25 years, Wright said, but there's climate change, the physical science, and our understanding, and there is the words climate change used politically to pursue agendas that may or may not be at all related to what we actually know about climate change. He added there's no such thing as clean energy and dirty energy. Wright used the analogy of there's no free lunch, talking about energy and the trade-offs that have to be made depending on the energy source used. In parallel to Wright's taking office, U.S. reps from Tennessee, Chuck Fleischmann, and Republican Mark Beasley, a Democrat, launched the new bipartisan American Energy Dominance Caucus on Wednesday. The group will focus on raising awareness of all forms of American-made energy, promoting domestic energy production, and increasing energy security. Increasing the production of all forms of American-made energy, especially new nuclear energy, should never be a partisan issue, Fleischmann said in the news release. VC agreed, adding the energy security requires cooperation from both sides of the aisle. As the world faces rising authoritarian regimes using energy as a weapon, it's essential that we take control of our energy future. Very interesting. Gabe, you brought this to my attention. This is from ANS News. ANS is a industry 501c6 organization that I had previously volunteered and been a member of. And we put on several events. One event in particular was pretty great to do promotion of new and emerging technologies in space. So I have a little bit of history with the ANS, and I generally think they are a good nonpartisan industry group. Any comments on this from you, Gabe?
Well, one thing that was left out of that article that I noticed that and is a bit controversial, maybe kind of edgy on his part, maybe kind of Trumpian in a way, but he doesn't believe there's such a thing as dirty energy. And even if climate change didn't exist, that would not be true. That's like totally ridiculous, but that's par for the course. I just wonder. I hope that the NRC, and I bet you that the NRC will really prune back the regulations. But conversely, the Republicans don't believe in government, so I don't know how much support other than that nuclear will get. I hope they don't cut back what they already did. I think Trump mentioned, though, that I think it was in the article or in the other article I gave you that, it was mentioned that Trump did, support funding nuclear, which is pretty good.
Yeah, and I think that this should be one of the lesser controversial appointments. But unfortunately, we do see folks calling him a climate denier, and he is, a little stronger on delineating between climate change, the science, and climate change, the political movement. And as you know, and I know, climate change, the political movement, has been used in the past to support bad policies, anti-nuclear policies, and like connections to unrelated. I mean, we both support the survival and security of the people in Gaza, but it doesn't connect to climate change. And crossing those lines is a bit of a confusion.
Yeah, I'm not aware that they did that.
Well, if you look at Greta Thunberg's actions, I think that's more what I'm referring to.
Yeah. Well, that's okay though. I mean, Greta Thunberg, just like the rest of us, I mean, is pretty disgusted with what she sees, I'm sure, and there's nothing that says she has to not comment on other issues, of importance. So if that's all there is, that's nothing. I mean, I don't blame her for speaking out. Actually,
I don't really. It's sort of the trying to connect everything. Everything's a climate issue, and well, not really.
Yeah. I mean, and the anti-nuclear too. They are anti-nuclear, but at the same time, they don't. I mean, maybe with the exception of Sierra Club, I don't know that they're that out front about it. And as far as like the climate, I've never seen I've been to a lot of demonstrations against for climate action, and I've never seen anti-nuclear material there. Let's put it that way. I've never seen it in their literature. The Sierra Club has they got like a kind of a committee, a section, I don't know what you call it, that deals specifically with that. Mm-hmm. I mean, I remember I went to a demonstration many years ago with 350, and they all said, "Listen, why don't you all come join us? We're gonna go and we're gonna talk at the hearings about nuclear power, and of course, they were going to oppose it. So they were going to do that. That's the only thing I've ever seen locally. Yeah. But they never really. I don't know. There really wasn't a connection. I think that the problem, though, is that the very fact that they are anti-nuclear in their position makes them very hypocritical. And the idea of 100% renewable is anti-nuclear. Yeah. You don't have to say it, but that's what it is, So I guess that's the part. Mm-hmm. I guess that's the part where you could say it is anti-nuke, but it's not like overt, but it's like kind of saying it without saying it.
Yeah.
You know.
Let's
But
I'll show up this. I'll bring up the second article, and this is the second. This is about the Trump administration making nuclear a pillar of U.S. energy dominance, and I'm still not 100% on. Oh, and I just realized our title was totally wrong.
oh,
Very casual Sunday.
okay.
We'll fix it later.
Yeah.
So this is a second Trump administration has the opportunity to cement nuclear energy as a pillar of U.S. energy dominance and global competitiveness. In his first term, Donald Trump strongly supported nuclear energy by among other actions, adding to federal loan guarantees in support of the Vogtle Units 3 and 4 project and making multiple large cost share awards to a range of reactor design companies. Like that's the ARDP. Those actions helped the first AP1000s to reach commercial operations and accelerated development of other reactor designs, including Cairo's Hermes project. And I should disclose that includes my current employer, TerraPower. The Trump administration also negotiated an agreement with Poland to build American reactors there, which has continued to make progress. Despite profound differences on energy and climate with its predecessor, the Biden administration took care not to dismantle Trump's nuclear energy policies, instead preserving and building upon elements that aligned with its agenda. The Biden administration exerted diplomatic heft in support of nuclear energy and signed bills passed by Congress that provided new tax incentives for both existing and new reactors. John Kerry, the U.S. climate envoy under Biden, touted the prospective export of U.S. small modular reactors to Romania at COP26 in Glasgow and championed the goal to triple nuclear power globally at COP28 in Dubai. Also, during the Biden administration, U.S. export financing institutions issued letters of intent to support Polish reactor build program. In 2025, President Trump can keep the bipartisan streak on nuclear energy alive and well within the framework of his energy dominance strategy. His vision on energy policy hinges on increasing overall production, decreasing import dependence, and boosting exports. To be sure, President Trump's may intend for U.S. oil and gas production to be this agenda's primary beneficiary. But nuclear can and should play a critical role in supporting U.S. energy independence and export potential. In particular, the Trump administration could grow nuclear energy's place in the market by leaning into President Trump's policy instincts, lowering regulatory barriers, growing American manufacturing at home, and competing with Chinese technology abroad. First, the Trump White House could work with Congress to legislate permitting reforms. The lengthy regulatory approval process has emerged as a significant obstacle to building new energy infrastructure, impeding nuclear reactors, oil and gas pipelines, and the transmission lines needed to connect wind and solar to the grid. The Trump administration, as its signature energy policy, could work with Congress to advance a bipartisan, deregulatory energy agenda that facilitates the energy build-out. As a part of that effort, the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission, under its new chairman, David Wright, could reform the licensing process for new reactors, in particular, streamline its environmental reviews, which have, in some cases, taken many years to complete. Trump could further jumpstart national interest zones for new nuclear projects and associated AI data centers. Such zones could have expedited permitting and other favorable terms. Second, President Trump could preserve and leverage the Loan Programs Office at the Department of Energy to accelerate nuclear deployment. President Trump mostly shuttered LPO in his first term, but it could be wielded to advance nuclear priorities. The office received $250 billion in expanded loan authority under the IRA and has roughly $200 billion in remaining authority to finance innovative clean energy technologies. The second Trump administration's Energy Department could leverage the existing loan authority to offer loans, catalytic financial products to new innovative nuclear designs. Further, he could retain and expand funding for nuclear reactor deployment elsewhere within the Energy Department. DOE has received billions in new bipartisan funding to help build and deploy new nuclear. However, some of that funding is housed within new offices, such as the Office of Clean Energy Demonstrations created during the Biden administration. The Trump administration may intend to undo changes to the department's organizational chart, but should not toss the funding along with it. The Biden administration notably did not reverse the awards to new nuclear reactor companies made in President Trump's fourth year in office, including those to TerraPower, X-Energy, and Kairos. Instead, Biden officials negotiated and implemented those awards. Third, the incoming Trump administration can expand the International Development Finance Corporation and direct it to make certain number of nuclear investments within a defined time period. Congress, in creating the DFC during Trump's first term, specifically gave it the authority to invest in and finance nuclear projects abroad, but the agency has generally been hesitant to do so despite an increased emphasis on clean energy under Biden. DFC authorization expires in October 2025. Congress, in reauthorizing the DFC, can explicitly call upon the agency to dedicate time, resources, and staffing to nuclear. Related to this, Trump can work with Congress to raise the default rate cap for the Export-Import Bank. EXIM has traditionally played an important role in supporting U.S. nuclear exports, but could do more with tweaks to its rules. It is subject to a statutory 2% default rate cap, which requires the bank to freeze lending if exceeded. That rate is uniquely restrictive among export credit agencies, and U.S. exporters have identified the cap as an impediment to their competitiveness. Beyond raising the cap, Congress could also seek other solutions to this issue in EXIM's upcoming reauthorization, including exempting specific categories of transactions from counting towards the cap and/or granting the EXIM Board of Directors discretion to exclude certain financing from default rate calculations. To this end, both EXIM and the DFC could accept or consider technology evaluations from other offices and agencies like the NRC, DOE Office of Nuclear Energy, and the LPO, Loan Program Office. Loan officers within these agencies face the difficult task of evaluating technology risk across myriad sectors. Their colleagues elsewhere in the U.S. government, like the NRC and DOE, have the relevant expertise and are already evaluating new reactor designs that could lower deployment costs. Relying on interagency coordination can increase administrative efficiency and cut red tape. President Trump's National Energy Council, be led by Interior Secretary Doug Burgum, could explore options to leverage EXIM and DFC to help finance the scale-up of U.S. advanced nuclear in partnerships with allied export credit agencies and development finance institutions. The list of countries keenly interested in adopting U.S. SMRs and advanced reactor technologies is growing. To meet that demand and head off Chinese and Russian competition, the U.S. states can enter into co-financing partnerships with close allies like the UK to build order books of specific reactor designs of mutual interest and advance them towards cost maturity. Taking the path outlined above would not require any significant departure on President Trump's part. Energy Secretary Chris Wright has touted nuclear power as low-emission, weather-independent power source with small land impact and huge scaling ability that can provide both electricity and high-temperature process heat. Democrats, for their part, should hope that Trump, Wright, and Burgum succeed if they pick up where Biden administration left off on nuclear energy. I feel like I need a break. This is this is.
You don't have to read the whole thing.
Oh, there's not much left. Okay.
But just a comment on that in the last part, how they talk about expanding the sales of nuclear reactors. I think that, and especially if Trump, does it like something crazy in Gaza or Iran or something, or Canada or any of these places. I mean, the way that Trump has just tarnished the American brand,
Hmm.
that list might contract,
Yeah.
depending on political circumstances. So, I'm that's something I'm concerned about. I mean, I see signs. I think he's not the same Trump he was. I think I think there's clear signs, and I've saw a psychologist. I saw a video where this psychologist was saying that he has clear signs of dementia. So, and I don't know how long he's going to be in, tell you the truth, if that's the case. But all of this could go really south.
Hmm.
You know.
Yeah.
So
there is a lot going on, and it would be great if we had like a real mature policy arm that was not captured by politics. But
yeah,
unfortunately, I think that a lot of what we see is politics that is used as like policy used as a political weapon, and that's
yeah, yeah,
par for the course.
and in a very
Mhm.
in a very amateurish way as well.
Yeah.
Maybe kind of unhinged way too.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't. Talking about energy. When Trump said that we don't need Canada for anything, they supply a lot of energy to the United States.
Hmm.
And someone was saying that if the Canadians really wanted to make a point, they could shut off the power right in the middle of the Super Bowl, just to show America that kind of put us more in a reality check. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and it is difficult to justify a lot of the tariff decisions when we really aren't as independent as the partisans out there might want to believe, left or right. Like, we can't cut off fossil fuels overnight. We can't replace nuclear energy in New York in the blink of an eye. Those are policies that never worked, and it's crazy to think that they could work that way. So it's unfortunate that we don't have physical reality in play in politics as often as we should.
Yeah, yeah. I know. It's wild. Theus Beckers describes it as the Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
It's really wild. It's really wild. But I look forward again to deregulating the nuclear, the NRA.
Mm-hmm. NRC, yeah.
Yeah, the NRC. I'm sorry, the NRC. And I tell you what, too, the I think they might get rid of the Endangered Species Act too. I bet you that's on the chopping block. And like, remember we had a guest on, I forget who was talking about. I think it was, I forget. Tom Blees. He was talking about how California could provide water for the state from Colorado, but the Endangered Species Act is preventing that from happening. And this is a thing with like all these regulations. You have this debate, and we get into it with nuclear and this and that.
Mm-hmm.
But the law in general is kind of a very structured and impartial. Maybe theoretically impartial, but that's not necessarily good when it comes to regulations, because like in the case what Tom Blees was mentioning, it really stands out.
Mhm.
Instead of talking about whether or not we should have regulations, I think a better conversation is whether these laws, if Congress should have the right and the power to override the law, the particular regulation, under certain, if they want. So, in other words, if California, if it's a matter of California turning into a desert or losing one species, that's the law would require that they preserve the species, but Congress could override that. So, I think that would make a lot more sense.
This is strange, isn't it? The reverse of the dismantling of the Biden cafe standards, and so when on one hand we have the right for states to make their own decisions, and yet the Trump administration, the Trump Supreme Court tried to dismantle those cafe standards based on California and their economic biases towards the largest market in cars. And yet here we are trying to reverse it so that your state's policies get muted by the federal policies instead of the reverse. And it's
yeah. Well, I mean, it's situational.
Yeah.
I think like states' rights is all, and an individual freedom and all that has always been a GOP thing. But and if you remember, they were making such a stink about Obama having too much power as president.
Right.
So, yeah. So, I mean, these are the kind of things that state, when they say state rights, individual freedom, and that, it's all, the real goals are not that. Right. Those are they'll throw that out the window. It's just like with free trade. They threw that out the window, and it's just, these are kind of things that are really not solid. They're just transient, depending on who's in charge and what the real goals are. Let's put it
right.
Yeah.
And that's a big problem for the nuclear industry. When you have a capricious administration who wants to undo the policies of the previous, and we get into this tit for tat situation, which causes, a general instability for anyone trying to build something that takes more than 4 years.
Yeah, but I think though that the winds are blowing in the direction of deregulation, so I don't think that will be a problem. Funding might be a problem, though. I don't. I hope that Trump continues to keep the spigots flowing in support of nuclear power. Let's put it that way. But not exactly a GOP thing. They've already been talking. Or I don't know if they're doing it. They want to defund Build Back Better. That's one of the things that Elon Musk is, has in his hands. Let's put it that way. So that part, I don't know. But it seems from the article, at least, and Trump's past behavior, that that's pretty solid, too. And I tell you, I don't think he's going to put, and I hope, I might be wrong, I'm just speculating, but I think the NRC is going to definitely be reshuffled. And they're going to put a Trump appointment in there, of course. And I would think that person would be qualified. It's because, there's so many nuclear engineers and stuff like that. And, they could pick one with somebody with a nuclear background is just, who could look at that. And so I'm feeling positive about that part, and I even think that once Trump is gone, which I hope he will be gone, of course, within the next 2, 4, whatever, even 1 year, who knows? The that rules will remain, and you'll see a new NRC. I don't think the Democrats will really. I hope at least that they would not change that as long as the changes aren't just too extreme.
We've got a great question on the chat, and it relates to a lot of the space talk that we've been doing. So this is from Kosaw. Do you think that the SLS will get canceled? And let's speculate as to why it might be canceled. Of course, the Department of Greedy Entrepreneurs, DOGE, or government efficiency, if you believe what's written on the label, is dismantling a lot of government services. And the question is whether or not these services are more efficient than something that might occur in the private sector. And of course, SLS would be competing directly with SpaceX.
Say what SLS?
Space Launch System.
Okay.
Go ahead. It's an American super heavy lift expendable launch vehicle used by NASA. And so is this what Kosaw, is this what you were referring to? And so changing the way that we get to space and having it dependent on SpaceX instead of having more of these NASA homegrown options, is that likely to occur under DOGE, and how are they going to justify it? That might be one of my biggest questions.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to cut the space program. Elon Musk, I don't think he wanted any part of it. And Trump said he wants to get to Mars. I think that's one of the.
But are they going to use Musk's program, or are they going to? That's the question: is are they going to allow the government to do this, or are they going to try to privatize the space program?
Well, it's already. I mean, Musk is already private. So.
Yeah, but are they going to cut the public competition?
I see what you're saying.
That's the problem.
Yeah, and maybe it's not a problem, because I remember we talked with who was it? Robert, what's his name? Remember Zubrick or something like that? Remember what was his name? Remember talking about Mars?
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, there's a few, but yeah, Robert Zubrin.
Zubrin, right? Yeah, and he was complaining, and he was saying that the private is actually better, which actually in a kind of a better system, better way of doing things, it wouldn't be. But the thing is, though, is that they've politicized Artemis so much that it becomes inefficient. It's like, in other words, when Congress does this program, in order to get Senator A to go along with it, well, you got to produce this in my state, and you got to produce that in this other state, and whatever. So that's there's so much pork barrel that gets into it that it messes things up.
Granted, that's Kosaw says they would love to watch SpaceX rockets, but can't stand Elon.
Yeah. I tell you what, he's not a good businessman. I mean, his Tesla stock is going down. I don't know about their stock, but their sales are plummeting.
Yeah.
Because of all of this stuff that he's doing. I mean, if he was smarter, he'd be way more behind the scenes. I mean, he could have dumped a shit ton of money on for Trump without being so out front and a Nazi salute. Eesh. You know, I mean, as a businessman, you don't do that. That's as bad as when Trump did fellatio on the microphone. You know, there's that.
And the point of Trump doing that crazy stuff is flooding the zone. If okay, this is diverging into politics, but let me.
That's okay.
For anyone who is pro or anti, the way that the Trump machine works is that you are able to confuse the defense, confuse the people who are trying to manage all of these different attacks and all of these different vulnerabilities that you might try to take advantage of, like doing crazy stuff at his speeches and his crazy events where he says the most ridiculous things. But that's not what we should be worried about. We should be worried about actual policies.
Yeah.
And so when you get your attention span flooded by all of the crazy stuff that he says at speeches and the, grab him by the hoo-ha stuff, you're not paying attention to policies. And if none of that works, then, salutes and microphones and, leaks from old Hollywood tapes and flights on the Epstein planes doesn't matter, because the actual policies are still going through.
Yeah. And those policies, I mean, it's, the media is, sensationalism has dollar signs all over it. So the media is always going to go in that direction. Yep. But, yeah.
So we live in interesting times, that's for sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, if like truth is stranger than fiction, I guess. I mean, I wonder if anybody was in an alternative universe, let's say, that's just like ours and didn't have Trump and everything, if they were to write a novel that really was described exactly what was going on, I wonder if people would say that this is so bizarre. It's just, it's like, it's just like, nah, no way.
Yeah.
I mean, the world is crazier than we think. It's one thing I've learned from all of this. There was a movie, right? I think it was, I forget about what the name of it was, but it was an action thriller where terrorists go in and they take over the White House and they kill the president, right? I don't know what, I forget, White House Down or something like that. I forget what it was. And I saw this a number of years ago, right? And this was during Obama years. And I said to my wife, actually, I said that this is ridiculous. He said, they wouldn't let it in. Nobody would get through, And then, what do you know it? A guy walks, months later, some guy with a knife walks right into the freaking White House,
Yep.
And it's like, well, so, it's just like, it's hard to predict things, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's good to see everyone out there, everyone supporting our live broadcast across a number of different platforms, but mostly the chatters we see, they are on Twitch. So thank you. You can reach us on twitch.tv/Soyaddle. That's Seattle without the C and add in the soy. So if you want to be a part of that conversation, that's where we are.
Yep. And we did have a guest, but we had a last minute cancellation. So that's why we're doing our casual thing. because we want to kind of keep the momentum going, you know.
Yeah.
And I think it was a conversation, tell you the truth,
Yeah.
you know. And so
into the future, we will have guests. I think I've been talking with Amy Lang Kawamura. She's a Fukushima Prefecture resident and is an author who is trying to publish her memoirs of Fukushima and the realities of living in that city, Fukushima City, and that region. The what else? We've got a number of different guest opportunities, and as well, if you have a guest or if you have someone you'd like to see us speak with, you can always make a suggestion. You can contact us at Ecomodernist1 on X. You can contact us via our website at ESNA.earth, and my personal Twitter X is Carl Alex Pauls. So a number of different opportunities. If you have topics you want to cover, we've been recently discussing a lot of space and a lot of AI. And there's a great regenerative agriculture person that I spoke with recently. And I think that he has sort of the scientific rigor to bring us the other perspective. Of course, we've interviewed Ag Bio World on this program, and I think having someone who takes the regenerative policies and shows how they have a science backing would really be productive. So
yeah, sounds good. Well, I guess we kind of covered everything. Maybe it's about time to sign off. I don't know.
I think that sounds good. I mean, we don't have a lot going on. I have a busy life, of course. Unfortunately, I keep making myself more busy all the time. But we each have our mission, and Gabe just gets to soak up the sun. So show everyone your backyard, Gabe.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. It's really nice. I'm in Kissimmee, Florida. I'm like 25 minutes from Disney World and Universal and SeaWorld, and I love it out here.
That's great.
Yeah.
So everyone, we will keep trying to bring you the eco-modern policy news, great people to speak with, and new and interesting ideas that show the way that humanity will survive into the future with the right application of technology, just the right amount, not too much, not too little, because those are really the alternatives. Is someone saying we'll just fix everything by applying more AI, or we'll all escape to Mars. Those are not necessarily the right solutions, and we love to interrogate those ideas. So I will sign off now. Thanks everyone for your contributions. This has been the Ecomodernist Channel Live. We broadcast nearly every Sunday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. You can find us right here on YouTube at Ecomodernist1, the Ecomodernist channel. You can find us, of course, on Patreon. Please support us at Patreon at the Ecomodernist channel. You can find us on our website, ESNA.earth. As well, we tend to broadcast to my personal LinkedIn, my X account. I'm Carl Alex Pauls. And thank you again. Remember, emissions first, peace and justice will follow.
I want to speak to you about a new organization called the Ecomodernist Society of North America. I'm here because we are in the midst of a potentially monumental ecological crisis. It is only through a new environmentalism 2.0 that progress can be made. We believe that our only hope for human advancement and even human survival is through the exponential advance of science in the service of humanity. Ecomodernism is a new environmental paradigm which looks to reverse the fear of nuclear power and scientific progress in general. Ecology-based modernism is the most direct way to define it. Ecomodernism as a philosophy is described in the Ecomodernist Manifesto. We believe humanity should not be rejecting technological progress, but rather separate our impacts from nature through the responsible use of technology and urbanization. Urbanization is an unstoppable worldwide trend and the best solution to many environmental problems. It offers sustainable development for the human population and is a historic antidote to both deforestation and species extinction as humans move away from using wildlife as their protein source. Vertical, urban, high-rise architecture minimizes the use of land, resources, and energy, enabling walkable cities that facilitates the more efficient use of mass public transit as well. It must be emphasized that our support for technological solutions is definitely not about defending industrial polluters, nor does our defense of technology imply that we just need to sit back and let things take care of themselves. To the contrary, we believe that humanity is at a crossroads that severely threatens our future on this planet. I hope by now you understand the worthiness of our cause. Ecomodernism is really only a philosophy at this time. I want to talk to you about the necessity of turning it into a movement, which will be part of the larger environmentalist movement. For it is only through our presence and participation that there can be any hope of moving environmentalism in the right direction. Our aim is not to divide the environmental movement, but rather to multiply its numbers with the incorporation of many scientific and educational communities that is working to both build chapters of eco-modernist societies and support our growth worldwide.